All right, good morning. Good morning. This is the first Saturday of September. Well, I take that back. Last Saturday was the 2nd. Today is September the 9th. And I am in northern Minnesota. I am north of Duluth, north of Hibbing, Bob Dylan's hometown. So I'm about 150 miles. Yeah. The reception is choppy here, so thank you for that. To perform the yoga anywhere, observe how you can stand. Observe your starting position. You may be seated, you may be on the floor. Whatever your starting position is, use that. And wherever you may be, we look for your stability. We look for your alignment. We look for your balance and your breath delivered. So be still. Remind yourself of what you're doing. You're integrating your breathing and your attention in the body. And let yourself work from that initial stability. Let your breath fill from the bottom of the lungs up to the top. And let your breath release. Wherever you have been during your week, observe it. Do not push it away. Let it move through your mind with your breathing. And then release your grasp of it. Release your attachment, your clutching. And likewise, however you anticipate this morning, this afternoon, this day, this weekend, next week, or the season ahead of you, check in, observe, whatever your plan, expectation, anticipation. Take a breath, release. And allow yourself to be present. Allow yourself to put your attention on the cycle of your breathing. The breath goes out. You create a vacuum. Into that vacuum, the breath drops, fills entirely. It fills your vessel, and when you can fill no more, let it pour out. Empty that pot. Fill that pot. When it is full, do not hold it. Do not keep pouring. Let it pour out. Good. Because if you can observe your breath cycle, you have activated your mind and your attention, your imagination, your capacity to visualize and enter your body. With that, many other things are possible. And every posture is a form for your breath. So, let yourself breathe in your stability. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate postures today. The camera restricts me in ways that I have already made my practice. But for me to convey to you, we're going to make some simple practices. And the important thing is it's not about me. It's not about the names of the poses. It's not about the style or the idea of it. It is about you claiming the practice. It is about you identifying, using the tool, identifying within yourself, using the tools. And that's what I wish to convey. I wish to convey tools, starting with breath and attention. And then in this body, 3 planes of movement originating from your spine. There is the sagittal plane, the forward and the backward movement. Forward bending, backward bending. There is the twisting, the turning of the spine. And there is the move to the side and to the opposite side, the bending. So with these 3 planes, what does that mean? It means wherever you are, observe how can you fold forward and take 3 breaths. Whatever you're doing, a minimum of 3 breaths will guide you and direct you forward, and let your breathing be the guide to the entrance of your posture, so that the brain doesn't do all of the work, that you can use your breath to exhale into your posture. Yeah, breathe and stay there, and use your breath to exit the posture. Three breaths. Then find its counter pose. If you're standing up, you can make a back bend and make your entrance to your bow, where you stand and you can arc back. How can you do it with the greatest ease? How can you move with the least effort? Having identified and chosen, setting your intent in the movement, and then moving. So it is a mindful movement, forward and back. Whether you're standing and tall and you fold forward into your Uttanasana, and then rebuild back up and come back into that entrance to your standing Dhanurasana, your standing backward bow, right? Or whether you're seated and you fold forward, your fingertips, your knees bent, if you're seated, and folding forward, touching the fingers to the ground, breathing, observing the form of your body and the breath delivery, coming up and arcing back. Or whether you're lying on the ground, how you can fold forward. Maybe you grab your knees and bring your forehead to the knees and hold and breathe. And what you hold, 3 breaths is sufficient. Yeah. And likewise then, if you make a pose, make your counter pose. If you're lying on the ground, you can make your fish, Matsyasana. You can lift and arc back. Or maybe even your upward bow. Yeah. So that is our sagittal plane. That's our first plane of movement. And the second plane of movement is our twisting. Where we twist the whole spine, and all of your twists arise from the hips up into the low spine, and you turn. And let it turn progressively. You may be on the ground and bend your knees and move into your revolved stomach pose. Or you may be seated, and in a seated pose, you take your hand over to the knee and your right hand over to your left knee, and you twist and you look, and you look deeply back. Turning low first, turning low at the in the lumbar spine, progressively up through the ribs and the thoracic spine at the lungs, heart region, up into the shoulders, the neck turns. And when we turn in this transverse plane, we want our chin and our forehead to turn equally. What happens oftentimes is we will drop the chin down and aim to turn with the forehead. Or we will be very willful and we will turn with the chin first. But how can we turn as if the spine were a single axis and we could turn equally and back? And you connect it with your breathing. When you want more, you inhale into your turn. You inhale into that depth of turn. Good. And remember, 3 times is sufficient to begin. It is sufficient to have benefit. It is sufficient to allow you to continue another time. And that's what is so valuable, is that you create a practice that allows you to continue, because that's where the real benefit arises. Not just in one day, not just in achieving something at one point, but how do you let these tools serve your life? And how do these tools serve you? And in this way, you claim practice. You make it your own. And there's no end to this learning, and we look for our teachers. Sometimes the teacher is the pain itself. Sometimes the teacher is a man or a woman, someone who is there, someone who might mentor you. Sometimes Kumar would say to me, he would say, let nature be your teacher. Look at nature, observe nature, see how it works. Everything works the same. And this is one of the great beauties of the yoga practice, is this consistent framework of attention in the body. Yes, it benefits the physical body, and it also you begin to observe the benefits in more subtle ways of emotion and mind, even soul and spirit. Although yoga is not a religion per se, it's not a religion in itself. These are tools for your whole development. If you have made your transverse plane, maybe, whether you're lying down and you make your revolved stomach pose, the knees drawn up and the knees go to one side, the shoulders down like a T and the arms wide like a T, and you're breathing and you do both sides. Or whether you're seated and you twist to the right and you twist to the left, or whether you're standing, you revolve. That is our transverse plane. There are 2 planes that we've completed. One more plane. And it's a plane that we often neglect. And it's the plane into the side of the body. And I'm going to lean. I'm taking my hips far over to my left. And as I lean, you can do this on the floor, you can do it seated, you can do it standing up. I'm leaning, and I'm feeling the dilation of this side line. How far over can my hips go? It's not about my head and shoulders, it is about my hips. And I'm leaning, my hips far over, and I'm lifting my ear
up into the sky. I breathe, and we work, yes, of course, muscles, and we work the skeleton, the bones that support everything. But we're also working lines of connective tissue, fascia, and this web work of fascia as connective tissue. And I'm breathing. I am working the neuromuscular pathways that link through the body. And I'm breathing. And I ask myself, I'm curious, what is the form of my breath here? What is the form my body takes? How does it inhale? How does it exhale? How does it open? How does it close? How do I receive? How do I give? I breathe and I bring it back up, slow motion. And second side. I lift, I take my hips over. It is my hips first that lead me. And if my hips lead me, what is my line? What is this channel through the outside of my body? What is dilating? And I inhale to heighten that experience and that awareness. And if this is my dilated side, what is my closed side? The side of compression, and what is happening there? And I breathe and I observe. We're deep in the woods. The connections are not the best, but I wanted to be here with you. We're about to close our practice and bring it back up. 3 planes of movement in the spine. We operate with breath. We identify our stability, our strength, our alignment, and balance before we move. We call this awareness, this wholeness. The term is sthira. Sthira. And from sthira, we set our intent, sankalpa. We isolate our awareness in the body. We direct our body with breath. We move into greatest opposition using this awareness of our 3 planes, activating awareness into all 3 planes. Effortless effort. And if you persist, then inevitably you find limitation, resistance, pain, discomforts. And this term for that is dukkha, pain. And it is a teacher. If we operate from sthira with breath and isolated intent, we find the effortless effort we call sukha, and then we exit. Okay, and that's where I'm going to leave you now. Sukha. Sthira, sukha, dukkha. That's all for right now. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, here from the great North Woods of northern Minnesota, home of the International Wolf Center, the region of the Iron Range. North Woods wolves, moose, deer, many lakes. All right, I'll be sending some photos too, and I'll be rejoining everyone at White Rock Lake in Dallas, Texas next week. All right, that concludes our practices today. Namaste.